Hello again, my friends. This is A Look in the Dark, and it's chapter 11, part 2. And chapter 11 is called Bandit Country. Carol and Danny are just about to arrive at her parents' home. The blue hard Ford Sierra swept off the road and into the farmyard, and it seemed to Danny that even before he stopped the car, Carol and her mother were hugging in front of it. Maybe, he thought, she was so overcome with love for her mother that she just atomised through the windscreen of the car. As Danny got out of the car, Carol's father, wearing a smile as wide as a farm gate on his red, weather-beaten face, held out his shovel-like right hand toward his son-in-law. "Welcome, Danny. You're looking the best. It's good to see you." "And it's good to see you too, John. You're looking well too." The two men shook hands firmly, but the formality was accompanied by warm expressions, and the farmer had a definite twinkle in his eye, just like his daughter's. "It's not every day that a rider comes to stay." Danny laughed it off and soon found himself engulfed in the arms of mother-in-law Linda Irvine. He kissed her on the cheek, and he stepped back. He said, "Well, ma-in-law, you still look just as glamorous as Sophia Loren." "Hi, and welcome back to Ulster, and your flattery will get you a bowl of good Irish stew. Come on now, get your luggage and into the house. Let's talk while we eat." As he entered the kitchen, Danny knew he was as welcome as a son, and Carol felt like a little girl again. She stood for a moment holding her da's hand while the two of them seemed to be sharing the same smile. "Well, Daddy, what's new?" "Oh, now, the news is not good, Carol." "Now, John," Linda Irvine interrupted a little sharply, "don't start all that old politics as soon as they get here now. I was thinking more of the farming than the troubles." "Aye, and it's all much the same thing." She threw the comment at him, and half joking, she stirred the stew. As they ate, Danny discussed the price of cattle and the weather with Carol's father, while Carol and her mother chatted about Anne and Carol's brothers. Nobody raised the two subjects that were on their minds. Danny Green's new career and the events around Linda Irvine's brother Phil were skillfully avoided like the edge of a cliff, but everyone knew that these matters would be discussed soon. When the meal was over, the two men took a stroll around the farm, and Danny tried to ask intelligent questions. "Why are you growing more barley this year, John?" "Well, Danny, we all have to look to the future, like footballer Georgie Best." John Irvine now took a neat step. It was a tactic he used, even in conversation, sidestepping to get into what he really wanted to talk about. "So what about your future? The writing, I mean. I understand you've given your job up. Is that not a foolish move? We all have things we like to do, you know. But a good steady job is a great asset, and you had one, don't you know? Frankly, Linda and I are worried about you." Danny Green looked into the kindly eyes, and he knew this was not just concern for his daughter. The hard-working farmer was concerned about both of them. Danny pointed at the barns behind them. "How secure were you, John, when you and Linda first started out here?" "Now that's different. I had farming in the blood, and I owned some of the land already." "Yes, and a bank overdraft, but you got by." "I had assets." "So do I." "Like what?" "Writing in the blood, a head full of ideas, and some openings and contracts, as well as knowledge and some skill." "Aye, but it's all up in the air a bit, Danny. Now don't think I'm not impressed with your writing. We all are. The article about the nightjars was excellent. I really mean that. But to earn your living at it surely isn't going to be easy. It would seem a bit like Linda deciding to feed us with her dressmaking. She's good at it, but it wouldn't pay all the bills." Danny Green took a deep breath. He never found it easy to stand up to his father-in-law. He had a kind of notion that it was less than respectful. Still, he knew that it had to be done. "John, I'm already doing some important research. I'm being well paid for it, and so is Carol as my research assistant. And if we had wanted to book into a hotel this week, it would have been 100% expenses paid. We are also employing a young school leaver as a record keeper, and the budget allows us to do that very easily. Please stop worrying about us. Jim Talcross, my old boss, promised me he'll find me a job if I need one, but he shares my confidence that I won't be in need of it." John Irvine swung open the gate into a field that took them back toward the house. "Now watch the ram. He's a chancy boy. I always keep one eye on him when I cross this field." "How can you be so sure?" "The world is so uncertain in these times. Even highly qualified people are finding themselves on the scrap heap." Old Eddie McVane was only telling me yesterday about his son. He was a headmaster in Birmingham this years and thought he was secure for his working life. So what happened to him? The school was closed, or at least amalgamated with another one, I think, and he was given a far from satisfactory redundancy package, 47 years old and not a hope of a new post, according to Eddie. So do you think, John, that my job at the motor factors, or the one Carol was going to take at the library, offered more security than Eddie's son thought that he had? John Irvine paused, looked at the old ram grazing peacefully on the far side of the small field. What is secure, Danny? I guess that old fellow over there is about as secure as either of us. I mean no harm now. We were just concerned. We're delighted to have you as son-in-law. In fact, Linda was making that very point to the Reverend Shaw on Sunday. According to your mother-in-law, the only thing wrong with you is that you are not an Orangeman. Both men laughed. John Irvine in vain hope, and Danny because he knew he was as likely to be a cardinal in the Catholic Church as he was to be a member of the Orange Order. Well, you can stop worrying, because we have far better financial prospects than a lot of young folk have right now. Also, the research we're doing is very important, and when it gets published it will be far-reaching. Don't worry any more about us and money, please. As Danny spoke, looking his father-in-law in the eye, he knew he had at least managed to get stalemate with him. However, a voice in the undercurrents of his thinking was calling like a noisy gull around a cliff top, and he knew it was true that if John and Linda Irvine knew how much danger he and Carol might be in, well, they might wish he had never married their beautiful daughter. So is this work you're doing with the birds? Yes, John, it is. Did you see the buzzards lately? Not as much, but they're still in the area. Michael O'Gain, he farms on that hill where the trees are. I think you met him once. He said that he regularly sees them, soaring about on the hills behind his place. Last Thursday he saw 4 of them and he thought it was maybe 2 young ones. Could be, if they'd bred early. Danny was so glad they'd turned the corner onto another subject. He always enjoyed lively conversation with John as long as he stayed off politics. So Danny, this is not just a holiday. No, afraid not. We have to travel about a bit, and before we do that I have to finish a couple of articles and get them in the post. Huh, do you think you get peace for writing here? No, it'll be like it always is, endless streams of friends and family calling in. Still, I reckon we folk from across the water could learn a lot about hospitality from you people. Aye, Danny, you could. And you could learn how to kill each other as well. As the 2 men crossed the farmyard, the noise of a tractor blotted out any conversation, and Danny turned to see his 23-year-old brother-in-law coming in off the road as if the vehicle was a Ferrari towing a trailer. Despite the mud, Danny could see that the tractor was new. Tom jumped down from the tractor cab, all Wellington boots and boiler suit, and the long arm extended in Danny's direction in an almost threatening manner. Nice new blue Sierra, Danny, is it yours? No, smart new red Ferguson tractor, Tom, yours. Yes. No. It's the bank owns it, and we didn't need it, John Irvine cut in sharply and quickly, but there's no way of getting him to see that. You have to move with the times, Dar. Aye, but you should cut your cloth according to your measure. If we farmed using your measure, Dar, we'd go back to ploughing with horses. Danny put his hands in the air. Come on, boys, stop, I'm only here and you 2 are at war already. Tom laughed, but John Irvine lifted a shovel and walked purposefully toward the mill house. Go and show Danny the swallows, he called, in the cattle house. And less of your mouthing, please, Thomas. John had the air of one who could not be in control but who would have the last word anyway. As Tom sneered and started to open his mouth, Danny put a finger to his lips and gave the young man a disapproving look. Tom took Danny to the barn where the chitter-chatter of the swallows was a welcoming sound. So, there's part 2. Family atmosphere on the farmyard. Where's this leading? What is it that Danny and Carol are going to do? The next chapter will, the next part of this chapter will explain that. Hope you're well, my friends. Love and peace from us, and thanks for listening. I'll soon be sharing the next episode. Bye for now.